Like I was saying before, you just slide that over to my left a little bit, John. Like I was saying earlier, I'm a big fan is that you try to get all the tools you can, because we're not going to use every one of those tools today. That's a Ryobi +1 kit, or runs at 18 volts. Comes with a little reciprocating saw and a number of other tools in it. It's all battery operated, which is perfect for out here. You don't want to be rolling way down the miles out into the yard sometimes with a but spend the money, because if you were to hire every one of those tools individually, sometimes you're going to be hiring 2 or 3 of them in one weekend. It's worth the money over a period of time. If you've got doing a reno or a any kind of home improvement, it's worth the money of actually getting yourself all the correct tools. And Ryobi are a good brand. I can swear by that, because we've got a number of Ryobi tools. And I'll just
yeah.
okay, we're getting into where we dig the last of the holes.
We're digging the last of the holes right here. Well, John's digging the last of the holes. You and I are observing him digging the hole. We've gone through yesterday and finished putting the posts in. We had torrential rain, and we just noticed something you've got to bear in mind. We've got a little bit of slump in one of these with all the rain, and one of the posts has dropped 10 millimetres, a quarter of an inch, which is not going to be a big issue because the way the timber sleepers sit down in these posts. So basically a C-section, sitting vertically, and the sleepers drop down in those. So you don't actually hold quite well once you get it up to length. As you can hear by the spade there, John's hitting rock and tree root. There's a great big sign of gold tree here. How tall would you say that tree is? 4 metres? 4 metres, try about 12.
Yeah, okay, about 12 metres tall, so it's obviously got roots running out in every which foot grade. But as you notice, we modified the string yesterday to create a profile that went past our points, so that no matter what happened, it went out past in both directions. So when you pull your peg out, you've actually got your lines intersecting. It's quite important.
absolutely full of rock, that hole. There's a bit of tree roots there. Okay, we'll pause the camera at this point. You don't need to sit there looking at them digging a hole, because it get highly boring. Okay, when you're ready.
What we've done is we've dug all our holes now, and this is the last one I've done. What we did is we mixed up our bag of pre-mixed concrete, and I put half of it in the hole to start off with, so then the bottom of my pole can sort of set in there, but I don't have too much, so I can still manoeuvre my pole around.
You mixed the water in first though, you didn't?
Yeah. I didn't follow the instructions on the bag. I made it up. It's rapid set concrete, but they say basically prime the hole with half a litre of water, throw half your bag in, chuck in 2 litres of water and throw the rest of your bag in, and hope that the water goes through it all. To me, you end up with a really drummy mix, and if there's any load on there, your posts are going to move over time because the concrete isn't doing what it should. So we've just mixed the rapid setup like ordinary concrete. Because it's got accelerants in there, it still goes off very fast. With that, you can add more water and you've got a lot more play time to get your concrete so that your post's nice and plumb and square with all the rest of your part. So what I've done is I've moved from yesterday, because my pegs were where I wanted my corners, so I've taken my profile out further past either direction so that I can take the pegs out, and I've still got my string line set up. This one here is just loose at the moment because there's no peg here, but if I bring that down to there, then I'm in line with the rest of mine, so that way I can still use my string line to judge. And then I've got my little short level so that I can see if it's plumb in both directions, because you can have it plumb this way but leaning that way, so you want to make sure they're plumb in both directions. And the other thing with these metal brackets is I've knocked my string line around because I've actually finished with it, so that's why it's sitting low and high and stuff like that. But they've got rounded corners on the edges. That's the top side, so when you're putting them in, make sure you've got them around the right way for your corner, because you could put this in by accident around the wrong way if you're not paying attention, then you'll never get your boards in.
Not only that, if you tip it up the other way, it's designed...
Yeah, they're designed so the boards slide down that way, there's nothing...
No, but your wall would go off in the opposite direction.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you've got to make sure it's round the right way. And then all you need is just a little level, just to make sure that you're nice and plumb, and your string line. And it'll take you a few goes to get it right, because you sort of got to jiggle it in the concrete, pull it out, put it back in, tuck the concrete down. Once you've got it pretty much sitting where you want it, you can throw all the rest of your concrete back in around the hole, because we've only already put half of it in, and that way then you just check it off again, and it's just small movements on the last time that you check it, then we can walk away and leave it. So that's how we've done the post. All the posts are exactly the same, but this is the most crucial post because it's where everything's coming to the corner. So it's probably the hardest post to do is the corner one. The rest are reasonably easy. You just have your string line set up for your height, and you have your level set up so you can tell if it's plumb. Home and hose. The hardest part with it all is probably digging the hole in the ground, especially around here where we've just got rock and tree roots and everything else. So yeah, you just metal bar and a spade and you're home and hose. A little bit of hard work, but I don't like spending thousands for someone else to come in and do my hard work for me. So again, just with your string line to make sure that it's level. I've just got that one. It's exactly the same place as where the peg was, and that way we can see that everything's nice and straight. Oh well, that's a rough overview of how to put in a post.
Okay, the first thing we do is we took the measurement between the two posts. What did it come to? 2.4 metres?
Yeah, I'm cutting it at 239.
So to give a little, between the posts is about 2.4, so to give a little bit of wriggle room, he's cutting them at 239.
That's from centre of post to centre of post.
Yeah.
You actually got to squeeze it in there. Cut it 24. It won't work. You always allow for that little margin of wiggle room, or else it's not going to slide down.
How long have you lived on the Coast Surface? Almost 40 years all my life. Wow, and your best memory of the Gold Coast over the past 21 years?
Oh, look, there's so many of them, but probably all the awesome bands at the playroom.
Yeah, everyone's saying the playroom. But what about when the big day out came to the Gold Coast for the first time? Were you here for that?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was awesome. But because I've been here so long, there's so many.
It's definitely a destination for late music, that's for sure. And congratulations, you're going to be partying with us at the Coolangatta Hotel.
Thank you so much. It would be great.
So you get the timber level, you've got to put a,
Live entertainment venue.
so you don't want to cut on an angle, so he's putting something up to get the piece of timber level, otherwise you will get a bit of a angle cut on it.
Spider are going to be your host, so we'll see you at our 21st birthday party.
Thank you so much.
More chances to win after one uses next at the
That's a Ryobi brand saw. Again, it's probably cheaper in the long term that if you're doing a lot of home renovating, go in and buy yourself a set of Ryobi tools, one of the brand names like that. They're not overly expensive. You start hiring this stuff every weekend, and you'll probably find in 10 weeks you've spent enough money to buy the tool.
I don't know if you can see, but you can see just the other slight line of my pencil mark.
You
You
try.
never, if you're measuring, cut just off to the side, because you notice your blade is about 3 mil thick. So if you cut exactly on your line and you're trying to get things mill perfect, it's good practice to mark your line and then line it up with the side of the tooth, because the tooth actually sits out slightly wider than the edge of the blade.
Particularly,
So that's why I always, you can see me fucking around trying to get it
particularly if you've got a
exactly
tungsten
right.
tip blade, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, with this sort of thing, it's not so important losing a mil or two there or there because the way the brackets are. But
All right, we'll go down the other end. Let's go. Re-explain. I cut that end off, didn't you?
yeah, I am. Because our wall's too high,
2 boards high.
2 boards high, cut both boards exactly the same. This one's got a horrible end on it. Always check your ends. That one there they've cut. This one here looks like they've just snapped the thing off. So you always cut off your worst end. Sometimes you might need to cut off both ends of your timber to have a nice clean edge. Again, the edges are hidden. It's just when you come to measuring, it's going to make it easier if everything's the same. Oh wow, this one's short.
Just not actually at 2.4.
This one's slightly short, so I'm just sort of cleaning off the end here. That's all I can do. But it's actually at my, it's not too short for the piece I want, because we are going to 2.9, 239, whatever it is. That was on the tape measure, that mark there. So I just need to take off just the saw blade's thickness.
Important thing, don't ever pull your guards off your saws. Safety is imperative. You don't want anybody cutting your hands off. How much does the piece that come off it?
What?
Does any actually come off it then?
No, that's what I was saying. That one there was. See, if that was, I would have used that for one of my shorter pieces. If it was shorter, because they're not always exactly the same length when you're buying timber. That's why you always have to measure everything.
First time from Bunnings we've actually come up with a piece of timber that I know of is actually slightly shorter than what we're taking out of the staple. Most of them are pretty... Okay, I know you can't see me, but I'm standing behind the camera. 9 times out of 10 when you buy a 2.4 length of timber or 8 foot piece of timber, it should have an extra inch overall on it, or 25 mil.
Be back in a second, just need to get my next measurement.
I think that one's 1200, isn't it? 1.2 or 4 feet. Should be around the 4 feet or 1.2 metres, this one. What have we got on that one?
It's 5 mil short of 1.2, just so that it fits in. The gap's actually 1.2, but if I left it at 1.2, I'm not going to be able to get it down nicely. So we're just cutting them that little bit, you know, a few mil short, so they got a little bit of wiggle room.
So effectively this should be cutting a sleeper in half, and the second half, well, one sleeper should do between both, shouldn't it?
Yes, providing the sleeper's actually at 2.4, not 2.9. 2.39, I should say. Now I'm getting myself confused. I don't know about you guys watching.
He's always been confused. He was 3 months early arriving into this world.
There's our 1.2, take 5 mil off. Gives you about 2.5 mil either end. The same thing from the other end.
The other two marks. Square it up off the back of the saw, get it all nice and straight.
See, because this side I'm cutting, I'm going to go that side of my line. When I'm cutting this piece, I go this side of my line. Because my line's the length I want, so you cut just fractionally off to either side depending on your length. So this one I'm dragging through a bit further, and my line that I've marked will be on this side of the blade. I'm a little anal retentive. If it's half a mil out, I keep jiggling it, but you don't have to be that accurate for this sort of thing. It's just habit.
Yeah, I had to get him to put the micrometer away the other day.
There's one piece. Slide that one a bit over. Make sure that it's still square. Again, you can just see the slightest hint of my pencil line. Disappeared underneath that. And those two boards are exactly the same length.
And whatever you do, do not use this offcuts of this kind of timber because it's treated for, it's a treated timber, it's tannalized. Do not use it in your garden because it contains the tannalizing chemical. It's not good in your garden. Never burn this stuff inside a house. It gives off toxic gases. All your little offcuts, just chuck them, just bin them. Don't try and recycle them for charcoal or anything like that.
Well, to start off with, just leave them aside because you might often want a little packer to put in underneath when you try to get everything level. So don't throw them away straight away, but you might be able to use them as a packer or something. But yeah, you can't burn them or really use them for anything because of the timber in there.
Chemical.
Chemical in the timber, that's it.
Yeah.
At the moment I'm just carrying everything down there as well, and then I'll film putting them in.
Sorry about the jerky camera. Here how far he's gone. Way down the other end there, and I'll... Not sure if you can see that there. Even I'm having difficulty seeing it. Round to the right further. There he goes behind the corn.
Just temporarily dropping them in there to make sure that they're cut to the right length, so I don't end up getting later on going, oh, this one's 3mm too long.
You're wondering about the wonky cameraman? It's a one-armed bandit on this one. But I have John to do both. Why? How much?
$1.23. Good thing we got the extra length.
Yeah.
The reason why that one there is a bit funny is because we were going to have more coming up this way, but then we changed our mind, so I etched it out a little bit longer. So I'm going to have to cut two to get the one out, unless there's one that's slightly longer.
Take your tape over and measure them. Yeah, we're coming back up 6 metres originally on this face here. Then if you look at the ground just down there, I'll try and zoom in on it. We would have had a sleeper that virtually buried in the ground, right in the ground.
Might be able to get away with just one clean cut in the middle. Because with the brackets we do have wiggle room.
I'm trying to see that post where we moved it.
Because basically like that's our post coming in like that.
Yeah.
This is our post coming in like that. So we do have, if you find that you're short, you could leave it a bit short and it's still going to stay in there. This piece here is obviously too short to sort of demonstrate, but they go in like that. So if you do find that I've stuffed up, as long as it's stuck in here, it's not going to go anywhere. So you don't have to have everything hard to the back edge.
That face, yeah.
But you'd probably want to backfill down it or else it will look funny when you're walking across the top. It's just more aesthetics.
How long is that one?
2.43.
Yeah, that's got enough room to do that one. So you're at 2.15, you cut it exactly.
Yeah.
And that gives you your top and bottom rail.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut it exactly in half, and it's going to be a little bit looser there, but we can pack that out. That's not a problem.
Just hope we're not confusing you all. It's fairly elementary there, Watson.
Because it's 2.3, so by the time you go exactly in half, it's 1.15.
1.215.
1.215, that's it. So I'm confusing myself now. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I am a tool. And this one, how I was saying before, we're lining up either side because we want to go directly in half. We're going to line the blade up, the center of the blade with the center of the line. So once we've got it cut, that line should be completely disappeared into bits of sawdust. That's our plan. As you can see, not everything else goes to plan, so...
You adjust things on the fly some days.
And unfortunately, they're sort of all the cuts I can do at the moment because our corner post hasn't gone off yet. Oh, we only needed one for this anyway, so I should have just cut it the right way.
I will find a use for it.
That fits in there alright.
Yeah. There you go, you can sort of see it and onto it. I'll see if I can just gently get this at the right angle to do a zoom on it. John's telling me my tripod's not level.
Not even close. If that was my tripod, I'd be ashamed.
Okay, I'll level it in that case, then he's ashamed. Nope. Which way does it want to go? Thing is, these got two hands, you can adjust the head of these things. If I undo the head, I'm just probably like to set the whole thing off. I'll give it a whirl, so if you go jiggly boo, you know what's happened. Pause the camera for a second. Okay, now you can see that sleeper sitting in its post configuration. But when we actually get to go to the point where we're doing it, I'll go down there with the camera, grab the other camera and go down and film it, John putting them in. Because what he intends to do is going to work from the top backward down, which is probably a little, to me, it's the way he finds it works. It always comes down to whichever you find work best for you. I normally come from the bottom up, but because he wants to get it all everything in line, level with the tops of the sleepers, he's going to go from the top down. Okay, what we're doing is we're putting because the way John prefers to do it, he's putting the top board in, getting it level. As you'll notice, he's got the bottom board sitting in there. What he's using is a couple of bits of rock and packer to actually lift that top board so it sits dead, and he'll bring the bottom board up to match it. And we are aware, somebody might be wondering, yes, we're going to push a little bit of dirt and create a batter on the far side of the wall at the very, very bottom.
So I'm going off the top because the top is the level where we want our dirt. So if I start from the bottom, then it's going to be harder for me to get the top nice at my equal distances. So like here, this end here needs to come up a little bit so I can just jiggle it round, because this is the post that sunk overnight. Rock's not working. You'll need to come up a little bit more. You're going to fiddle around with these for a little bit, depends on how perfect you want it. Like that there is acceptable on the level, but I'm a little bit fussy.
He's a perfectionist.
See, that there's pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is just use a tech screw. Even though my tech screw's longer, I don't want it protruding out the side. So I'm just putting these basically in to hold it at the height I want.
Okay.
I'm only going to go in far enough so it grabs the timber, so the timber can't drop.
A tech screw is a self-tapping screw.
It's one of those hex head, and that's designed for cutting through steel. They don't really go through timber as well. Like, they go through timber just fine, but since we're not holding the wall together, this is just while we get the dirt in there, they hold all our timbers in place. So, because that's my point of origin I'm working from, I'm going to do this side first, then that side, then lift the bottom board up
Your point
and
of
put one
reference.
through those as well.
I'll just rephrase that for you. So that's his point of reference at that end. So that's where he wants this, that's where he wants it all perfect from. And then what we do is adjust across. You always have a point of reference, and you work from your point of reference away from there.
And I've got that screw still sticking out a long way, but once I've got my bottom board in, I can take out my top row of screws, and the screws I put in the bottom will hold that one in nice.
Yeah, with it all, it's just going through enough to stop that top board dropping away.
And you got to picture it sort of backfilled with dirt, so any gaps you end up with are going to be hidden as well, like in your ends here.
So like this is the side that's being filled. So if you normally when you're looking at this wall, I'll go down and I'll show you where you'll be looking at it from. Where I'm standing is where I'll come around that side. I don't know if I'm in shot.
Now that top is taking my packers out, those top boards are all stayed in where I want them. So now I can lift my bottom board up. It's going to give me a nice joint.
So from where, I'm not sure if I'm in shot here. I think I am. So this is the point here is where you view the wall from. Always, the side you're backfilling is not where you're looking. It's the outside of the backfill. So if somebody comes down here, that'll all sit nice and tight. And this particular wall is going to end up with a tiny little bit of batter on the bottom, but I'm not. If we had gone one board higher, I think we have to have council approval to go.
And these screws, because they are on the side we're filling them with dirt, we can leave them protruding out and they're not going to be visible later on. So
Looking good.
basically that section there finished. And then we can go on. This one here I'm going to have to chip out some dirt because we're sitting too high.
John's got John amnesia again. He puts his tool down, then can't remember where he puts it.
It was still sitting where it was from washing it off the concrete.
Put that around that hole. Use the tractor going past. Look at the mower.
Because our boards are 200 high, I need a 400mm gap. So I'll just scoop a little bit more out because I've got 410, but then there is 5 sections through there. So I'll just scoop a little bit more out and it will give us the height that we want.
That's the part of a wall, brick wall. Here we're gonna. Oh, did not lose those things, did I? We'll salvage those blocks out of there. They will go under the grow beds to get the elevation for the plumbing. And by the time all this is filled, all the plumbing is going to be completely hidden. You won't see any of that.
And that's actually another idea if you just want a little retaining wall to just do a little bit of dirt. What we did with these is we just sat the bricks on the ground so they're level, filled them up with dirt and put flowers in them so it looked nice and pretty. That way we had a little flower hedge in the middle of our wall. So that's another idea. If you're looking at doing just a small retaining wall, you could use bricks and plant flowers in them.
That's the sort of thing we got.
Well, we've pulled most of them out and killed the plants by knocking them round with getting all this prepared, so. Just drop our both timbers in.
And that's BEA beautiful.
Yeah, no. It's got to be lifted up. Now I want to bring my first board level with that board because I dug out more than I need so that then I can get my height right. Rather have it too low to start off with than too high.
Doing these timber walls, you work a little bit in reverse to what you would with bricks, because if you're putting down a footing, you'd have that all set at the bottom. I hope we're not confusing you all.
And the other half of the reason why I'm only putting a single screw in either board, because if I've got one screw, that acts as a pivot point. If I had 2 screws in there, I'd never lift the other end of my timber up to get it level. So you only ever use 1 screw in each piece. It's more than enough to hold it, but then it gives you the adjustability at the other end of your board.
He learned that when he's working for NASA.
putting the solar panels on International Space Station. He wishes.
Yeah, put my little packer in, get it nice and level, whack in my screw at the other end. And then we pull the other board up, and basically we're just continuing this process all the way around, working all the way back up to that end. I can take my little packer out.
If you really wanted to be fancy, you could leave a little gap in it, a little bit of dirt, fire a little flower seeds in it. That would look a bit uglier for me.
And then again, grab your bottom board, pick it up, so it's tight. That's the other half of the reason why you dig it out further, so you can get your fingers under so you can pull that nice and tight. And these are just really roofing screws. But because we've got the hardened steel, you need something that can cut through. And it's easier to use these than pre-drill everything. If I can get this one, come back up.
Sometimes you've got to give it a little bit of gentle persuasion. That was just a little bit binding.
So again, I'll use my timber bar, come around this side. I've still got my blocks here.
It's a steel bar, not a timber bar.
Steel bar, I can crank that up. See, and then that's brought my gap up. The weight of that bar is heavy enough to just hold that pretty much where it is.
Yeah, I'm beginning to hold it.
And then we've got that section there of the wall done. Unfortunately, that's all we can do for this point because we do have to wait for that corner post to cure properly. So, but the corner and everything, you just follow the same process regardless of whether you're doing a corner, a straight line, one of just a single or two, it's as much of the muchness. You'll notice like there's a bit of a bowish part in those. You could, if you wanted to, just put a gang nail on the inside, but being that there's dirt coming up against it, it's going to bow everything out evenly anyway. So, and it's a timber retaining wall. It's not like you're putting it in and it's nice dressed timber. So you want it to have that sort of little bit of a rustic look. And again, don't worry about the screws sticking out because our dirt's coming up to this height. So none of these screws are ever going to be seen. I could take all the top screws out now and the bottom screws will hold them all in place. But I'm going to leave them in there because screws are cheap enough and it's better to be safe than sorry. Because this is going to sit for about a week before we can get the dirt in. Just let everything settle and go nice. So
Yep.
that's how you do a retaining wall, John style.
And we will show you the last couple of pieces as we get to them. Couple of floors we can at this point.
Again, across the two pieces, our bubble levels in the middle. It's what we want.
Okay, we're just getting our packers on there. Bring the two boards flush with each other. John's working on the right side of the picture. Get those flush.
Oh, the wall's higher than the steel anyway. They weren't meant to be, but because half of them dropped.
You get a little bit of slump in your concrete sometimes. You notice here.
Our string line and everything mightn't have been quite right because it was left overnight. So.
And we had torrential rain overnight. The other thing too, all you remember is when you bring your saw in your back up into your, you never bring your saw dead smack. What about when you're mowing it, you need a little bit of overrun. Grass grows up there into it. We'll get out a shot so you can see what he's doing.
Oh, this one's not going to get all the way in.
We will be, there's a little path that's going to come down the outside here, so a little bit of backfill down
Now we do have a small problem with this corner. I was planning on screwing through from the inside, but as the way the corner is made, I'm just going to have to manually pack that up, put stuff underneath it to hold it at the right height because I didn't think it through fully. So it's one thing to keep aware of when you're doing it,
particularly when using these
fixing
pipes.
it. So, but since we've got all the rock and dirt around, that's not that bigger of an issue. I can pack it up and backfill around it and make sure that the boards aren't going to drop that way. But I will be able to still fix the other end in place.
Excellent, just look at this one. See, this end's got to go down.
Throw that in there, right? And now I've got that a bit proud, I can give these a push down and get that so that there's going to be nice, flush. See that measurement will probably be out because I haven't done that in there yet, so we'll just make sure that, see how that there is. That is actually level. So I can screw that there end off now.
When you're doing DIY, always remember the DIY for outside and the DIY for inside. Like if this was a piece of skirting board or fascia inside, that would not be acceptable.
No, you'd be a lot more fussy. But being that this is only a small retaining wall, we've allocated for a margin of error. Being that the other two there, you sort of don't need to put a screw into these because they're already sitting on the ground at the right height, but we'll chuck a screw in just to be safe. That way then when we backfill it, it's not going to move at this end.
The other thing, when we get to the point of backfilling, we're going to throw a whole lot of rubbish and stuff in behind here, which will... One of the things I have got, there was some bags of cement that I bought ages ago. It actually got damp and killed it all, so we're just going to drop the bag straight in here in the corners. Because that'll take up, because if you're buying fill, what you've got to do is you take into consideration, I think overall we're looking at about 5 cubic metres of fill that's going to be put into this whole area to bring it up. And if you can save a little bit on that by putting in, well, I've got part of an old greenhouse behind me, made out of that, the aluminium framing. I'm just going to lay it through here. I've got to get rid of it. I can either take it to the tip, or I can bury it in here. Aluminium won't ever sink. But you don't want to put tyres in the ground because you get tyres will compress and they could get methane gas out of them. It's highly dangerous.
Sorry for the hasty turn there, bad camera work.
We are going to do, at a later stage, we're going to do a video which actually give you some ideas on some of the gear you want to try and get your hands on if you want to do nice videos for YouTube. Like I'm just using a couple of relatively inexpensive cameras, these are. Got little cannons, they're doing the job quite nicely.
And that is our little wall finished. All we have to do now is drop some dirt in there and backfill it. The home and hose laughing.
And the two reasons is that because of my leg, any undulation I've trouble walking over, and with the other beds that are going in here, if we can get the ground level, it makes it a lot easier for us to get all those beds bedded. That's primarily the reason for it, because I don't really want to be the amount of work that's gone into trying to get the other beds level where we haven't had the ground 100%. We're putting packers in, gucking stuff up. A lot of work involved in it. Yeah, like I say, there's about 5 cubic metres of the soil we're using is very similar to the soil that was used in and around the duck pond. It's got a lot of sand in it, so it does compact down well. It's a little bit hard to grow grass on, if anything, because of the sand content. But over this, once the beds are all in, there'll be a layer of top soil going down, and then I intend to plant it all in clover. And why I'm going to put it all in clover, because I've got all the plants growing, garden stuff in here. Anything that'll attract bees is what I want. I need stuff to be pollinated. I've got a few trees around it. Anything that I can get the bees in here with. So it's just a case of getting it all level and covering all the plumbing. I think you saw in previous videos, in my gardening videos, where you see the plumbing laying on the ground. It's quite important that all that stuff's hidden and I'm not tripping over it. Okay, that's it for the building a retaining wall video. I'll catch you next